Okay, so the same project I'm using, just I have created one more component with this template name. Okay, let's run the project. GS. What was the port number we used yesterday? Anyone remember what was the port? 4204.
4204. 4202.
This error. Guys, please be on mute. Where it is this error coming? Okay. Hmm. Fine. Okay. So yesterday we have seen how we create that same thing by using reactive form, by using former and everything. So much code we have written. But what if we have to do the same thing but by using template form? So who can suggest how we can do that? What will be your approach? How we can do that? Anyone? Guys, whatever we did yesterday, what will be the approach if we have to do the same thing by using template form? What will be your approach? Anyone? Okay, so considering this object, how you will create or how what will be your approach to do this?
First, we create the class.
Hmm. No, that class interface, forget about it. We will go with any. Now I know I need the approach. What type of approach you will go? Now by seeing UI, at least you should understand the approach. If yeah, I can understand if UI is not there, you won't be able to at least think. But if UI is there, you should think something. How it will be. How many object you will create, what you will do on click of add. No one is thinking, or you are just waiting for me to tell. Praveen,
Using NG model, when you click that button, it will push the data, whatever the input box is.
no, no. Tell me proper approach. See, if this is your object and this is your form, how you will, how many object you will create, how many, which object where you will bind like that? Or can we go with one object and do everything? Or do we need two objects? As you can see, here is one form and here is one form. So do we need two object? Or we can have a one object also? What it will be?
One object and one array.
Right? But why, what will be the other array? In this, in this object, you already
One,
have this array, right? You will need separate
that
array.
um, that array will push into this object.
Yeah, okay. That is also one option. Now see how there are three ways how you can do it. Okay. Just see the UI based on that. So first will be you will create two objects. First, employee, okay, where you will have all the properties. from this to this. Okay. First object you will create like this. Then second object you will create for family. Then what are the family detail you have now? So this field you will put it into your second object. Okay. So you have a parent object. Inside that you have one property. Here you are going to store array of object. Okay. So what you will do in this object, you have this array. So on click of add, what you will do, this object you will push to this object, this property. So how many families you have, that data you are going to have over here. So that you will iterate over here. This is one way. Creating two different objects. This object you will bind it over this form, and this object you will bind it over here. And on click of add, whatever the object, whatever the data you filled, that object you will miss, this object you will push to over here. This is one way. Now everyone understood this approach?
Yes, sir.
So we are going to create two different objects. One object we are creating for employee, that we will bind it over here to the first form. Second object, family object, we will create, and that we will bind it over here. And on click of add, we will push this object to this object, this field. Clear now? Guys, speak up. If no
Yes,
one is
sir.
speaking, I get the feeling like no one is getting anything.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So this is first approach. Another approach, this is very best approach. Okay. Second approach will be, you will create this object. Okay. You will create this property also. Same thing. But to store, instead of on click of add, instead of pushing the object over here, you will create another array. Family array. And on click of add, you will be pushing this family object into this new array. And on click of save button, on click of save button, in this object, in this field, you will push this array, you will assign this array over here. Basically one and the same thing. Correct? Or no?
Both are same only, right?
Same only, right? But on click of add, instead of pushing directly to your main object, you are just pushing it this to another array. Then on click of save, you will assign this array to your this property. Obviously, it's the same thing, but little bit approach is different. Okay. Third approach will
Yes.
be, you will create this object only. Okay. And this array, you will directly use it over here as an inline editing. Means you won't be creating this object. Directly inline editing means inside this object, you will have the properties like that, and that you will use by inline editing. So as many as record you will add, by default, you get this kind of object. Means you don't need this another object also if you are choosing the inline editing. Getting it? Third
Yes, sir.
option.
Sir, if we use the multiple, then
If you use the multiple, then means?
suppose name, relation, age.
Yeah, this is
There is
multiple only now. For multiple only we are talking now.
no for third approach.
So inline editing, what do we do with inline editing? Array only now. Table, how we
Okay.
iterate the table array? We have this array in this object, right? So
Okay.
here at
Yes.
the rate for loop, we will use object employee object dot employee relative. And
In
in
clicking on the button, we can push the record on.
we will just push empty record
Okay.
to this array then. So that here we will get one more element. One more form will be created.
Okay.
Which approach should I explain? First one or
First one.
okay,
First one.
fine. Mm, okay, so let's open it side by side. Now the first object we need. So this is our first object. So let's copy here whole thing. Let's create employee obj colon any. I'm not creating class or interface. Okay, these properties, but this array will be empty by default. Okay, then I need second object family obj colon any, this second object. Okay, so we have created employee object, and then family object also. Now this employee object we will bind. Again, forms model we need to import. So this employee object we will bind to our properties over here. We have this form tag now. Let's remove it. Otherwise, name attribute I need to add. Okay. So now this employee object field we need to bind it over here. Let's search.
Sir, in for these type of cases, can't we use multidimensional arrays?
Multi-dimensional array is something else, no? This is not multi-dimensional array,
Okay.
right? That is something else, no? Structure means array.
So,
Inside that again we will have array, no?
yeah.
Multi-dimensional. But here it's like we have single object, and inside that in one property we just have array of object. So it's not multi-dimensional,
Okay.
right? Okay. So we need to just employee object dot. So I will just search and replace with this. Okay. Let's bind the properties quickly. Name, contact, email, city, state, pin code, and designation. Fine. So first object, the parent object we have binded to our single form. Now comes the part of the dynamic form. So here family object dot relation we need to bind it over here. Then this ng model we will require over here also. Here name property. Okay, it got repeated. And in the last age we need to bind. Fine. So we have created two objects. This object we have binded to our single form, and the family object we have binded to the multiple form. Okay, let's save and check if we don't have any error. Okay, so no error is there. Now what will be the next step? What will be the next step? We need this.
Create the function of add button.
Yeah, but this should be dynamic, right? This form.
Yes.
Whole row should be dynamic. So we have decided to go with the first approach. So this row should be repetitive. So @for that will be repeated on employee object dot which property? Mock EMP relatives. Correct? And here this whole row we have to put inside this for loop like this. Okay. Now on click of add, what we are supposed to do? Now if we save now, you won't see no form is there. But by default we need a form, correct? So what we need to do? By default one form should be there. What should we do for that?
Outside for we should have one.
No. How you will have outside now? See yesterday what we did? When we initialized the form, we pushed one form group,
TRA.
right? See over
ng
here,
on it, we just call one function.
right? Here see,
Yes.
we have initialized the form and then we pushed one form. Okay.
Yeah.
Just like that here also you need to do. So in constructor, this dot employee object dot this property dot push. What you need to push? This dot family object. Okay. Let's save and check. See, now you got an object form present. Understood this?
Yes.
Okay. Now
Yes.
what we will do on click of add? On click of this add, what we need to do? What we are supposed to do on this click? What we are supposed to do on click of this?
We will create mock employee relatives.
On click of add, what we need to do based on the UI? What should be done on click of add? One more form should be populated over here. But this form is in the for loop. Means again this same piece of line will go over here, na? Correct? See.
Yes, sir.
By default we have this on click of add. See. Understood?
Yes.
Okay. Now Okay, this was empty now. Let's reinitialize this with empty. Okay. What else was remaining? Yeah, that's it now. So on click of save, click save employee. Constant form value equal to this dot employee object. That's it. Let's add a debugger and let's check it. Okay. But now, one approach we have done it wrong. So this will be multiple. Can anyone predict what will be wrong? What was the mistake we have did?
When we enter something a name is and then clicking the add button, that should be I think empty there.
No. See, just pay attention. If I'm typing some over here, everywhere same data is getting reflected. How come?
Okay.
Why it is
See.
happening like this? This
Because
should not happen,
we
na?
are not entering the value. We are just I mean, saving the form, not the value of that form
No.
fields.
What is happening whenever I'm typing anywhere? See, let me refresh again. Okay, if I'm adding in the third row also, see everywhere sister got attached. What is happening? Why? If I
ng model name is same.
see, okay. So all because we are using for loop now, but even though in for loop everything is same, na? Got it?
Index
Yes,
value.
Single object we are only binding to the form, correct? So even though it is in the for loop, same ng model is binded. Understood?
Same form control. Yeah.
So same object we have binded to all the field. No? So anywhere you entered, same data is going to reflect in all the iterative form. So if you take this approach now, you cannot use this way. Okay. So this should be single and the data you want to display in the table. Because you understood now, because we cannot use ng model within the form, within the for loop. Okay. So for that now, added display means added relatives, we will show it in the table. Here, no? That's what I said, how it was overcalled very little time. TH, serial number. Or let's remove the serial number. Name. What is it? Relation. And last one will be your age. Okay. Then after T head, T body will be there. And then here you will need for loop on the same field, object dot mock emp relatives. And over here you will have your dynamic TR. Item dot, what will be name? Let's copy paste. Relation and age. Okay. Now it will work fine. Okay. Why it is saying 0? Please be on mute, guys. From where it is coming 0?
Age is 0.
Okay. Table class also we didn't add. No? Let's add. Okay. So now our UI got changed. Now do we need to pass an empty object to the array? What we did earlier? Previous UI, what we considered that we will repeat this. In that case, we had to add a what do we say, empty object over here. But now our UI got changed. So do we need to push an empty object over here? Because in the table you can see empty object is coming. Now, is it this object any useful?
No, I think only we stored.
Right? So now we don't need this. And this add button will move above the form, inside the form over here. Now see the UI. Okay. Just a minute. Sorry. Okay. So now if you see the UI, now basically by default in the array, we will have empty relatives. But if we click on add, this form data, we will push it over here. Okay. Let's say. Now this will again get repetitive. I will come to that, why it is going to repeat. See, if here also I'm changing, it is changing over here also. Can anyone tell me why this is happening? What we are doing, on click of add, we are pushing this object to the another object. But in the object also, if I'm changing something over here, same data is getting populated over here also. What is the reason now? See, this object is separate. On click of this add, we are pushing this object to another array. Object field. Okay, basically another array. But if we are changing it over here, why it is changing to all the elements we have pushed also? Anyone?
Shallow copy.
Yeah. Okay. So this is that shallow copy thing. Because whenever we push this family object into our array, so it hold a reference with that particular key and value. Means particular key from your family object to your array of object from over here. So we need to detach that. How do we detach that connection?
Assign it to another variable, and that variable will be pushing to the array.
No, still it will hold the relation. How do we?
JSON.parse.
JSON.parse. Okay.
Parse.
So see, here we are going to get the object. On click of add, what we are doing, this object we are going to push over here, but it will hold the reference. So for that, we need to detach that relation. So for that, we use that deep copy method. So first we need to convert the object, family object, into string. strobj JSON dot stringify. Here we will pass the family object. Then we need another variable, parse obj is equal to JSON dot parse method. And what we need to pass over here? This string object. Now this new object, parse object, we will push it over here. Okay. Let's save and check. So now let's enter some detail. Okay. Now if I see, it's not changing now. Understood? What was happening previously and what we did to fix that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's enter the detail and let's check if we are getting the object, what we are supposed to get.
Age is not working.
My age is not coming. Age. How come age is not coming? Let's add a debugger and let's check item.age. Let's try. So in family object, wait, why age is coming 0? So in the form, okay. Here we binded this. This should be family object now. Now it will come. Okay, on click of save. So you can see we got the same object, what we did, what we saw yesterday, single object and with A, B, 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 relatives multiple. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So first approach is clear. What we did, we created two different objects, one for the parent object and one for the child object. Then parent object we have binded to the single form and the child object we have binded to another form. Then on click of add, we are pushing the object, child object into our parent object, this property. Okay. But to do that, we have just detached that connection. Otherwise it was changing everywhere. So we first converted this object to the string, then again converted back to the object, and then we pushed it. That's it. Okay. Now, if your UI is like this, you will choose this approach. But let's say you need this in a table where I don't want to anytime now if I want to remove this again, I need to add the remove button and everything, edit again, I need to do it, right? In this approach, let's say I added this BBB. If I need to edit it, there is no way. Other than we need to add the edit click and get this object, assign it over here. So many code we have to do. Again, if we have to remove it like that, right? But instead of doing this, we have another way. Here we can use inline editing. Okay. So now I don't need this form. Or let's comment this. Okay. And this, I will just convert this normal table into inline editing. So input. Now here we need to bind our ng model directive. Square bracket ng model directive equal to item.name. We will bind it over here. Relation will go over here. Age will go over here. Okay. So now on click of add, see, we got the form. Let's add that form control class. Otherwise it is going out of screen. Okay. So see, now I can type the data. Okay. Now if we check on click of save, see, we got 3 data. Got it? So this is more user friendly.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now here you can just add a close button or delete button and you can remove this particular row by using the slice.
Sir,
That's
can you click again on the add button? Okay. Because I have done this approach, but when I just fill the
Again.
data, after clicking that, the data will be empty. And just add the another
Now
one.
what we are doing it over here now, this object at all not needed also. Do we need this object now? We are pushing it over here, but instead of this as a global object, we can create a constant local object also over here, correct? Because this object we are not using na in HTML. See, we are not using it. So this, instead of creating it as a global, you can create it in a constant and then you can push it. This code is also not necessary. This was just for the previous approach. Understood?
Yes, sir.
So the third approach. Clear?
Yes.
So this is logic. Based on the UI, you have to propose the. See, sometimes what happen na, when you is anyone over here who talk with client also? Praveen or anyone guys talk with clients also? Or BA business analyst?
Sometimes with vendor.
Means the person who
I'm
brings
talking to
the
a lot of customers, but not like this another kind of desktop applications. But I was supposed to ask you the practical scenario of this.
right. So what
system.
happens when in every project, in a proper project, we have a UI UX person. He will design the UI, correct? In Figma or somewhere, and he will share us the photo. Like this is how your this is how your new UI is going to be. But when we are discussing the ticket, we need to explain it also. Like whatever because the person who designed the UI, he doesn't know Angular. He can design UI as per the user feasibility, but as a developer, it should be feasible from our development point also, na? So in the requirement analysis, we need to explain client like why this UI we cannot do it, or instead of doing on click of add, we are pushing it to the table, and inside table we need that edit and the delete button. Unnecessary code we will be doing, right? The previous approach. If we are not going this like this in the table, we will need to add edit and the delete button, na? So much of code we have to delete, right? So we need to explain to the client, like if we go with this approach, these many extra functions we have to write, these many extra scenarios we have to test. So QA's effort, development effort, everything will be wasted. But if we, instead of that, if we use this inline editing, very less effort and less code will be there. And it is more user friendly also. So kind of these discussions we should have to do somewhere. If you are not doing till now also, na, somewhere in your career, you will be at a point where you need to discuss approaches also with the client. Getting it? What I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we got
Even
it.
though you are not doing it right now, na, someday you have to do it. Because ultimately you are going to design the form, right? But if you start designing other way, so much code and so much scenarios you have to cover. Ultimately you are inviting so many scenarios for the defect also. So we need to provide a solution which is user friendly also, and with very less scenarios it can be properly tested also, right? Okay, so these things happens when we have a UX person. He will think as per his and user accessibility, like how user will be, how your form will be user friendly. But once he deliver it to us, like this is the UI we are going to design, we also need to think it properly. Like, can we do it very quick, easily, without any extra code, right? Then we have to provide our inputs also. Then he will make the changes. Sometimes client will trust more to UX person than us, because he is actually designing your application as per his thinking, right? So we need to have a proper reason also while explaining to the client, like why we cannot go with this design. Sometimes we need to provide another approaches also. Like if we are not going to like this, how we can else do that? We should be ready with our POC, and we can show that, like if we cannot do like this, let's say forget about this, UX person designed something and that is not easily doable by us, okay? Or if we have to use any external library to do that, an external library is not there which is free, but we need to do that. So if we cannot, don't consider this scenario. Consider like we have some UI or something is there which we cannot do it very easily. So much of R&D and something will be needed. Okay. And if we have to do it, we have to use any external library, let's say SyncPuture or something. But that is paid one. And client said, we don't want to go for the paid library. You only have to manage. But we know that that UI we cannot manage by our own. It will take so more time. But in Agile, within a sprint, we have to deliver it. So if we cannot go by that design, what are the other approaches we can do? So we create a POC, we show that to the client. If we are not able to do like this, these are the two other ways by which we can do it within the sprint. Like also you need to, these are the interview questions. Anyone has faced something like interview questions? How do you communicate with client? Or most famous question is like, let's say you are leading a team, you have a UI people, 5 people are there, and within that team, let's say 1 or 2 people gone immediately on the leaves due to some reason. How you will manage the work? Anyone has faced this question? These are the kind of question you are going to face when you have 4 or 5 plus years of experience. Not everyone is interested in your technical knowledge, because somehow they will be expecting you to lead a team. And these are the questions actually team lead is going to do. You need to communicate with API team also, UI UX person also. You need to inform the client also. You need to communicate with them also. Right? Again, today I took an interview of a person who was having around 9+ or something. He was in TCS for 3 years, previous company, and currently he's with somewhere else. So almost proper companies he were there. But his communication was like, I don't know, he didn't put on the headphone or what, but any answer, I was not able to understand what he was saying. He was mumbling something, but he was using accent also in between that. The words and the grammar was not correct. Because I know the answer, so I was able to relate that, yeah, he was saying something related to the question I was asking. But the actual answer, he was not delivering it. He might have the proper knowledge or anything, but because our calls get recorded, right? So once we cannot directly pass him, even though we pass him in the interview, in the next round he is going to fail. So ultimately that will come into us, that why did you pass this person, right? So even though you have the technical knowledge now, grammar is very important in English. Don't use any fancy word, but create your sentence like that the other person should be able to understand very clearly like what you are trying to say. Okay. So even though 9 years experience, he was not able to answer what is question also. Means he was previously he was working on PHP for first 3 years. Then after that 5 to 6 years, he is working on dedicatedly on Angular. And if I didn't go on the scenario question also, very basic, what is question only I ask. Because we judge the candidate based on the introduction only he gave. Right? So even you also, whenever you are introducing yourself now, make sure your introduction is very pretty clear. Our question get changed as per your introduction. I'm talking about myself. I don't have any fixed question. I don't have any list also. Like these are the question I'm going to ask. Based on the introduction, what person give, my question will get changed. And the rating I ask normally. Right? Do we have Praveen or Arvind? Praveen, if I ask you what will be your rating in Angular out of 5, what you will give?
Out of 5, I will give 3.5.
Right? So this should be the actual answer. Even though you have proper experience, never say 4. Or never say 2.5 also. It should be in between 3.5 or 3. Don't say 4. 5, so you don't have to say 5. Then I will go with my toughest question. Right? Just like a humble approach you are giving to the interviewer. Like, yeah, I have the experience, but I cannot rate myself very high. Then someone will ask you, like, even though you have 5 to 6 years of experience into Angular, why you are not rating yourself up to 4 or 5? You need to be ready with that answer also. What can be answered, Praveen? If I ask you, like, why you are not rating you as 4 or 5 or even 4.5, what should be the answer?
It's because even we
Your voice is going away.
spend a lot of things, still so many things are there to learn. So I want to give myself more.
Right? So you can say the project I have worked till now was very limited with the limited domain. Basic CRUD applications were there. Or we didn't explore micro front end because my manager was not familiar with that. So there are so many things which I have not yet covered. Okay. So this is the only answer which is suitable for that question. Saying still there are so many things which I have not gone through. And I would love to explore those also. This is the right answer. Understood, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So coming back to project, what to do about the project? Only